Grab a cup of joe and let's gather round that hay bale. With your hosts, Ann from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Sandi from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Here they are. Hey, y'all, hey.
Y'all, hey, I'm Ann with Andale Homestead.
And I'm Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch.
This is Sandi with Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Cayce over at Ormsby Farm. And do we have a fun episode for you today? And I say fun, y'all, because I'm excited because I know this much.
Which is a big old zero.
Big old goose egg right there for you guys on this topic. But it's a really interesting topic for right now. And we are talking about seed snail rolls. And I was very careful on how I said it because we were going back and forth on the name before we went live. But it's seed snail rolls. And that's saving seeds or growing your starts in a different way than you would think you would start your seeds. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch it over to Sandi because, again, remember, goose egg for Cayce and I think goose egg for Monica. Miss Ann did it today, so she has like 7.4%. Huh? We're going to pass it to somebody that has the knowledge on it and get Sandi. What is seed snail rolls?
Well, what they are is a way to grow a lot of plants in an itty bitty tiny space. And I'm just gonna start out and say something. Okay, we just might as well be controversial right from the beginning. Okay.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Now, if you pull that up, you are going to read articles and articles and articles about this gal from Wales, the UK, that she invented this. Bogus. Just not true. Now, she's an Instagram star, and she did really blast it, and people became more aware of it.
Right.
But you can actually look at, it's called bestlandscapeideas.com.
Okay.
They have an article how to do it in 2020. My friends and master gardeners back home have been doing this for 30 years.
Oh, gosh.
So it's like, bam. But I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way when all these articles, word for word, were saying the same thing, that they just copied and pasted that this gal invented it.
Yeah, they didn't do their homework.
No. And so that's just me ranting off my chest. Okay.
Oh, Sandi.
But it's a great way to make a lot of plants. One of the really nice things about it is that the roots grow very long. They're very compact and they grow very long, which really can help your seedling in the long run. Now, Cayce, should we show the video on how to make them?
I think so. And if you would explain it too, I'm going to kind of pop us up this way.
Okay.
If you would explain it as it's going, so people know what you're using and how you're using it. So here's the first one.
Okay, so I have a piece of bubble wrap folded in half. And I put dirt, and then I'm placing seeds, and then I'm going to carefully roll it up. And so you see all those little seeds? In fact, there's another one. I'm just going to add that in there. And all those seeds in that itty tiny space, right? And so I'm going to put a rubber band around there. Some people use tape. You can use whatever, or you can have a pot that's exactly that size, and then it will hold it in place.
Now, question for you, Sandi. Is that using dry? I'm playing it again. Is that using dry soil? So you haven't moistened the soil at all. You got bubble wrap, you have the dry soil, and you have your seeds. That's all you've used so far, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, the only time I would do it and I would have it moist is if I wanted the soil thicker. So like if I was planting squash or pumpkins in there, because I need the soil wider because the roots need more room. They grow very fast. And so I would dampen the soil then, just because I could layer it onto the bubble wrap thicker.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's probably a half an inch thick on there right now.
Okay.
And so then I will, in just a little bit, I'll show you what I'm going to do. And then I soak it after that. So if you want to play the other video.
So
Okay.
so really quick, it's thicker for the bigger seeds.
Well, not necessarily the bigger seeds, the seeds that would grow the root system faster.
Oh, okay. So it's not about the thickness of seed, it's about how fast the root system grows. Which,
Right.
how would you know that on a package of seeds? Like germination rate?
Well,
Or days?
no, on a seed packet, you wouldn't know about the root system. But the bigger the seed is, the logic is that you would get more roots faster.
Okay. So it kind of, you could kind of use it as your generic guide.
Yes.
So like if I'm doing pumpkins or like melon seeds or like you said, squash, maybe the bigger seeds, you can do a little bit thicker of the
Soil.
Of the soil.
Yeah. And so that's why on those ones, you want to really have it damp already.
Okay.
Just because otherwise the loose soil will just want to spread all over the place.
And you, Sandy, I remember now all of us on the panel know what seeds you used because we're in a group chain, y'all, and we talk to each other all the time. But what for this video, what seeds did you use to do yours?
I used some of my ponderosa lemons.
Okay.
You know, because I just love growing lemons and giving them the little trees to people. So,
Okay, so I have some more questions afterwards, but after you show the next, I have a couple questions for just the general why.
Let's see the
Okay,
video.
well, here is video 2. So this is kind of after you've now basically, so we're walking through the steps. You've laid out the bubble wrap. You've put down your dry soil or dampened soil. You've put the seeds in, depending on the size of them, the root system, and you've rolled it up and you've put, well, you said either a rubber band or
tape. Some people use a tape. I just think the tape gets damp after a while and comes apart.
Mm-hmm.
So a rubber band or a string, anything to hold it kind of in place.
And now this is what you do next.
Right. So I put some extra soil in the pot and then I'm going to sit it in there. Sorry, I'm kind of off my camera view. I thought it was more close. And then I just put a little bit of soil just to hold it to where I want it. Right.
Do you have to do that part?
No, unless your pot is too big. Like some people will take just a kind of a flat tote and they'll just be seed snails one right after another.
Right.
And so they have all kinds of different ones. I just happen to be putting it in a pot because for me, it's very easy to take back to Wyoming.
Okay.
So that's for me what I did. So you see it like that. Now, the other thing, I brought it inside and I watered it, right? I actually filled my sink up a little bit and just let it soak up. But I did put water in between all the roll, right?
Okay.
I put some little chopsticks just in case my plastic bags started to go down. But you want it to have that humidity.
Okay.
Another good trick is if you have a heat mat, it will make them germinate faster and grow more. And so until you get at least a third of the seeds up, you don't want to take this bag off.
Okay.
Okay.
You want them to germinate. And let me just say, for the people that are listening to us in podcast land, because I didn't mention this before, if you want to see our bright and shiny faces, and we're actually showing you visuals on this episode, step by step, what Sandy did, what we're saying needs to be done to do these seed snails, come over to YouTube. Come join us on our YouTube channel. You can click our LinkTree link, which is in all of our bios for wherever you find the podcast. And the very top one says YouTube. Click on that and come over, and this will be the first episode that's there. And again, we showed on there, if you're just joining us, we showed where Sandy did the video where she started it. So she put bubble wrap down. Internet's going crazy. It is going to show something in a second. Don't worry, y'all. It's going to show.
It will show.
At some point, yes.
Okay.
Well,
and so in the meantime,
rewind and watch.
Can I show just a little bit? Mine was just a little bit different
Yes.
And
Mhm.
I think it's the same thing. It's certainly the same principle, but I did my research on YouTube, watching all my friends do it. And I've never done one of the seed snail rolls before. And so today was my first try. But I got, instead of the bubble wrap, I have like the packing paper, that soft
Oh, okay.
styrofoamy
Yeah.
packing paper.
Okay.
And I already had it.
How's
And I
that-
didn't,
where do you get those, Ann? Where can you get it from?
I ordered mine Amazon,
Okay.
but
I
I
think
ship a
Walmart
lot
has
of stuff. Yeah, Walmart has it. I ship a lot of stuff, so I already had that. Get a long line of it, fold it in half, just like Sandi did. And then I, the person that I watched to teach me how to do it had wet their soil quite a bit. So I wet my soil a lot and it really made a big mess, y'all. But I also put a whole lot of soil in there, not having a clue what I'm doing. Right. So now, because I haven't put any seeds in mine yet, I'm going to put squash and zucchini seeds in here
Oh, the
because
bigger
that
seeds.
will be perfect. Perfect. So
Mhm.
this is what it looks like. Mine looks like this. Hopefully, I won't pour water on my computer, but the folded edge is at the top,
Right.
and then the open edge is at the bottom. And from what I understand, this particular system soaks up the water better than like just regular trays of the little seedling trays
Oh.
kind of thing. And since this was my first one, it's a little fat. It's like anything you cook. If you're cooking with bread, I felt like I was making a cinnamon roll.
I was gonna say it looks like the biggest Cinnabon ever. I love
Yes.
that.
So if you're making bread or anything like that, then you're kind of fluffy, kind of generous to
But you
begin with.
said there's no seeds in there right now. What?
No seeds because the people that I watched didn't put the seeds in there first. They put the seeds in there afterwards. But I mean, it's only been an hour. Certainly I can shove some seeds. Just
Yeah.
start here and go all the way around.
Yeah. All Ann would
Mhm.
have to do is take the backside of a pencil or a chopstick, just make the holes every inch and a half or so, 2 inches probably, because you're doing bigger plants because those leaves will get big fast.
Okay.
About 2 inches, the depth that you need for that. So I'd probably go down about an inch.
Okay.
And then you can just push the soil back over or just sprinkle some soil on top. And then you'll just put the bag over top of it because you do want it to have humidity.
Okay. Now I used masking tape because to hold it together. But the reason I know it's going to come undone and get ooky and gooey, but I can shove it over there in the corner, and I'm going to fill this up with other seed
Yeah.
snails,
Yeah.
snail rolls, and plus this tray it's just a plastic thin kind of tray. But what I'll do is put the whole thing on a heating mat.
Yep.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And that way it'll help with everything.
And you can water in the pan.
Yes. And okay, now Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, because all the people that I watched have a slightly different method. Doesn't make it wrong, just makes it different, slightly different method. And they said that they just kind of like soak them bad boys in those trays, just kind of leave water in there like crazy. And then as it's soaked up, they don't have to water these snail rolls as often
Right.
because it holds that plastic or whatever it is, the shipping paper or the bubble wrap, holds it better. And there were a few people that used paper. There were some people that used like grocery bags. There were some people, but the paper and any items that is soluble, the roots grew through,
Right.
and then it messed up all the root system because you just lay it down and unroll it, and you got all your plants laid out to be able to put right in the ground.
Yeah, because you have the benefit of the bubble wrap or the styrofoam thin roll that like Ann has. The roots don't penetrate that. So they're
Oh,
straight down and they're going to go sideways.
Okay.
When you unroll it, when we unroll it tomorrow, when you guys see it tomorrow night,
Yeah.
pre-record, so ours will be growing. You'll see just the straight root that goes down and all these side roots that you can.
Oh, that's gonna be so fun to unroll
Okay.
it and see the roots.
So that was the thing too. So here's a couple questions. What is the benefit of doing it this way? Because I have seed starts right now and they're in the little trays, right? And I mean, my trays are only like that deep. Okay. So I'm starting to see some ideas, maybe some benefits of doing this because longer root systems, right? That's one of the things you said, Sandy. And so
Mhm.
with the longer root, that makes it healthier when you plant it, or it just gives it a better structure.
Well, the plant will be healthy because it has a lot of roots.
Okay.
You can, in the trays or the pot that you're growing
Yeah.
it, you can add the fertilizer after the true leaves are up so that it's getting nutrients while you're waiting for it to go outside. But seriously, probably the biggest benefit is space.
Okay.
So that you can grow a lot of different plants. You're not having to buy 15 different lights for all
Yeah.
these different trays that you're doing. You can
Mhm.
get, well, just on my little one, I probably put 15 ponderosa lemon seeds in there,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And so if it looks like the plants are just getting too big, you can always repot them before you take them outside if your weather's cold.
Okay. So
But
at what point do you unroll them and then put them into a bigger pot?
well, if you can time it right, because there's a
Mhm.
lot of charts online
Yeah.
that you live in this zone, this is when
Mhm.
you should start this seed, right? Use those tools that are on the internet and in books. So if you can plan that when it's about time to go out into your garden or into your flower bed, depending on what you're growing, because you can grow flowers or herbs or anything in there.
That's right.
You're gonna do just like any other seedling. You're going to harden them off. You're going to
Okay.
take them out a few times, bring them back in so they get used to the sunlight and all of that stuff, just like you had little seedlings. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same. The only thing you got to be a little more careful is when you dig that hole, you don't want your root to be wonky. You want to dig it deep enough. And that's why they're usually about 5 inches, 6 inches
Oh, okay.
when you're folding it in half. And that's really pretty standard on bubble wrap or that foam,
Right.
you know, you're just
Mhm.
going to fold it in half, but it saves the space. You're less water because it holds the water, like Ann said.
Mhm.
And basically mine is probably 4 inches round. I got 15 seeds in there,
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
you know.
I would say this is a good 6 inches, 6 to 7 inches across.
Now, here's another newbie question for you, because again, me and Monica are over here taking notes as
I
we're
am. I literally am like writing down. I should be
I
looking
see
up more, but I'm taking all my notes.
now. So when you were talking about trying to pull the video up again, here we go. Let me pause it for a second. You're putting down the seeds. You're wanting to put the seeds closer to where the top of this snail will be, correct?
Correct.
Not all over. Not all
No.
over. You want
Oh, okay.
to the top.
No, and I'm doing it based on how deep I would have planted it. Actually, a little bit deeper than I would have planted it in just the soil,
Okay.
because the soil is going to compact itself a little bit when it gets wet.
That's right.
Right.
Now, if it was tiny seeds, like if I was planting herbs or tiny seeds in there, I would do what Ann did. I would roll it all the way up without any seeds. Then I would press, because I don't need those very deep. Or I would just, after I watered it, I would sprinkle them on top and just put a little bit more soil.
Like a lettuce.
Yes, like a lettuce. Because you don't want them so deep, because if you plant them too deep on certain vegetables or fruits, they can die before they ever get to the surface.
Yeah, I know that one. Lettuce is Casey and I know the lettuce plight of trying to grow lettuce from scratch.
First of all, don't come for me, because I'm a hydroponic lettuce now, so I'm a professional.
Me too, though. That's the only way I can grow it.
my other crazy newbie question was, So now we're planting seeds at the top part, or how deep we would have planted it in seed starting plants. Can I do a mixture of like peppers and tomatoes and any, or do you need to kind of keep it all the same in the snail?
Well, theoretically, you could have different things. My only issue that you should be aware of is when you would take that plastic bag off,
Mhm.
because some things will grow much faster. And say you had a whole bunch of different things in that one roll, it might be good for some plants, but the other ones haven't even germinated enough to come through the soil.
Okay.
Okay.
And
You'd have
it's
to-
such a, oh, I'm sorry, Ann.
No. I was just saying you would need good companion plants that have like the same type of growth season thing.
Well, yeah, for how long it takes to germinate. So if
Yeah.
you had the same ones that take 7 days to germinate, you're probably okay. As long as you know what plant is what.
Yeah, good luck with
That's the
that.
truth.
Yeah, that'd
Because
be mean.
some plants, when they first come up, before they actually get their true leaves, a lot of them will look the same.
Yeah, sure.
And but you could do things. You could put little marks or something on the bubble wrap, or little pieces of tape that said when you change to a different plant. There's lots of options, but
Yeah.
it is a great thing to have kids do,
Yeah.
Right.
because it doesn't take very much space, and they could literally have it on their sunny window in their bedroom, and all of a sudden they see these bean sprouts coming up because those are
That's
fast,
so awesome.
or peas,
Yeah,
and they're just so excited.
I'm kind of bummed right now because 2 weeks ago I did gardening for my homesteading. We were doing this homesteading / gardening course in co-op, and my turn the second week was gardening. And so we took these little potted plants, little plant pots in with a compostable. Everybody put like 5 or 6 seeds, different. They're growing basically salsa garden is what I encourage them. So we did jalapenos and some tomatoes and some cilantro, and we tried different things. But this would have been so perfect to have some seed snails. I said it right.
Yeah.
A few different ones they could take home and put in a bucket and easily put that in, a nice space. But that's okay. Hindsight's 2020. But now this is such a cool thing. This is something I think I'm gonna try with my boy, because my Ezekiel, my 8-year-old, he loves to do this.
Yeah, it's always evolving.
Yeah.
And one fun thing is that next week's episode, just a little hint for next week's episode, we are talking about to use grow lights or not use grow lights. And you need to know how much light certain vegetables have. And so we can talk about that next week. So make sure you turn in for that.
Absolutely do. Absolutely do.
So for these seed snails, tonight we're planting them. You two have gotten seed snails started today. Okay. You're rolling it up, you're planting them, and we've kind of got that under control. You've got the little like dome, you're covering it. We want to have the moisture, kind of like a little greenhouse you're making. Now, tomorrow, because again, you're hearing this, you're seeing this, it's Monday afternoon, evening, whatever. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, the day after our podcast is released, you are going to be able to see us live, and Sandi and Ann are going to actually roll out their seed snail rolls, and you're going to be able to see them, pull them out, show you the root system maybe, and then are you going to put them in a different pot or are they going to be old enough that you can kind of
I hope they'll be old enough we can put them right in the ground here, the ones that I'm planting. I hope that I can do that.
Right. For Ann, because she's a different zone than me. And when this airs, she would be able to put it right outside.
Okay.
I would have to put mine into my greenhouse or into a cold frame.
Okay.
Because mine would not be ready enough. And because I'm growing citrus, I just have to be a little more careful with the temperature.
Okay.
Sure.
So if you're watching this now and this is way beyond, check in the description notes, go to YouTube. That's where it's going to be. Check in the description of YouTube and check for the link to the actual live stream that's going to occur the next day. If it hasn't, if it's already passed and you're watching this on replay and it's older, go back and check it so you can see what they do tomorrow, what they do on that Tuesday. And we're going to make sure those are linked back and forth. Right, Cayce? So in our live stream that night, once that live stream's over with, in that description, you'll be able to link back to this podcast episode. So that way you can back and forth and see the progress from the planting to the actual unrolling and how we've done that, because I think that's important to show the total process. It's not just
Agreed.
one YouTube video. It's kind of a live action. This is what we're doing.
But also, I want people to understand that it doesn't take overnight for these to sprout. Again, for most
We have
people that are new to our podcast or
Yeah.
new to Around the Hay Bale, we pre-shoot a lot of our episodes. Like a good portion of our episodes are shot a month, sometimes 2 months in advance.
Yeah. So right now it's March. It's
Yes.
St. Patty's Day.
Yes, it is. That I'm looking as we're talking, and I have like green food coloring stains on my fingers right now. So
That's nice.
we are shooting then, so it's going to be about a month, 4 weeks from when we're shooting this episode to when we're going to be live. So it doesn't happen overnight. So I don't want you to listen to this podcast and think, well, Ann and Sandi, planted theirs today and then
After
a
the
day
beans
after.
start. Magic seeds.
So it doesn't work like that. So just remember that we do pre-shoot, but look for the link down below, because I will make sure that everything is linked, so it's an easy click away.
Okay,
that's right.
Podcast to live stream.
So Sandi, what are the when I'm looking at something and especially doing something new before we close out or whatever, can you tell me the pros and the cons of doing it this way? If there's any cons, what are the pros and cons of doing the seed snail rolls?
Well, the pro on it,
Uh-huh.
so much less space that you can get a lot of plants in a little space. You're using less soil, less water, less fertilizer, because once those little seedlings, a seed has all the nutrients it needs until it makes its true leaves.
Okay.
Once it makes the true leaves, it needs a little help.
Okay.
So either it has to get some soils have some fertilizer built into them. Otherwise, I always say a diluted tomato feed is your safest bet. Or you could do a diluted fish emulsion, but they're seedlings, so they can't be a full strength what it says on the container. It has to be diluted, probably a fourth the strength.
Okay.
Now, I put soil on the bottom of mine. Ann doesn't have soil on the bottom in her tray.
Right.
The reason why I did that is because mine will take a little bit longer before I actually take it out of the roll. And my roots may go down farther because mine is a tree.
Gotcha.
And so if you know that that's a tall, a long root system on that plant, it doesn't hurt anything to put it in a pot or a container that has some soil so that it can go down. And when I go to pull it out, if it looks like it's intertwined, all I'm going to do is put it in some water, and I'm just going to shake it around, and those roots will loosen themselves and they'll just come apart.
Oh, that's so cool.
And for people that are thinking, okay, how big are my roots going to get? Funny thing was, I was looking back on our old podcast, and before we were blessed enough to have Sandi as a full-time host on the podcast, she was a guest back in season 1 of the podcast. And she talked about root systems for tomatoes that I will never, ever, ever forget.
Oh, yes.
You can get your root system same size as what your plant is above the ground. You have a healthy plant.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That if you have a 2-inch baby seedling, a good healthy root system would be 2 inches underneath where it is in the soil. So think about that when if you're Googling, like using the Google book on looking up, and you really should be using our podcast to look up these things. But if you're looking things up and you're saying, well, I don't know how big the plant will get. Sometimes it'll tell you like a tomato plant at this stage should be this number of inches tall. Then you can kind of counterbalance and say, okay, well, Sandi let us know that the root systems be the same size, so I know whether to put the soil on the bottom of the pan or not. So
that's why people. That's why people sideways plant their tomatoes.
I'm telling you, I didn't understand it until I truly sat down and thought back of Sandi's episode. I was like, oh,
genius. Okay, so are there any cons? Are there any cons?
Well, you do have to have things. Honestly, a heat mat is a lifesaver for these kind of little plants because you want them to have a strong start. And I don't think that a heat mat costs very much. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them in the stores. They don't cost a lot of money, but I think it's a good investment.
Sure.
Mhm.
And I also think because you're growing inside, you should have some good lighting.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that next week's on that episode too. But
Woohoo!
so there's some costs unless you already have them. If you've already been doing seed starting for a long time, you probably have all that stuff.
So really the cons are just that there's going to be some added cost if you don't already have the things.
Right.
Otherwise, if you have those things, there really are no cons to this.
Right.
Right, because most people have bubble wrap or the styrofoam wrap that Anne's using.
Yeah.
Most people get them in packages.
I love that.
Some people do use paper towels and different kinds of paper. I just don't like how the roots intertwine and you break them when you
Yeah.
go to take them apart.
That's
This is
right.
so cool. I love this. This was such a good episode.
Well, Monica, why don't you close us out then, sweetie?
Well, since I didn't know anything about it before we came in, neither did Casey. Casey and I are both like learning. I have like a paper full of stuff. Hey, look, we really had a good time talking about this. I am super excited to be able to try this with my 8-year-old. He's going to love it because we have a bunch of starts already in these little pots like we're used to, but why not try something different? And again, really the pros outweigh the cons right now that I'm looking at. So thank you so much for joining us. If you are here and you're seeing our faces on Round the Hay Bale on YouTube, thank you for doing that. If not, and you want to see our face next time, make sure you check us out on YouTube. Otherwise, you can listen to us on all the podcast platforms that are out there. Wherever you find us, we're all over social media. Just click Round the Hay Bale. And then don't forget to come in tomorrow to see the outcome of our amazing seed snail rolls that these beautiful ladies started today, literally a month before tomorrow happens. This is like really going to the future, guys. Anyway, thanks again for coming in. We absolutely love you guys, and we can't wait to see you again tomorrow or next week, whenever you join us. So until then, bye, y'all. Bye.
Bye, y'all.